EatFresh.org for Nutrition Educators webinar. Thank you so much for taking the time this morning to join us. We'll be talking about some easy ways to incorporate EatFresh.org into your programming to extend and enhance your messages in a variety of settings. We'll cover useful features for nutrition educators, best practices and effective strategies, examples of EatFresh.org integration in nutrition education, and relevant print materials to support your programming. We'll also talk briefly about our online curriculum modules that we're currently developing, and then end with a little Q&A. So my name is Jessica Sildorf, and I work for Leah's Pantry as the program coordinator for EatFresh.org, and I'm down in Southern California. I'm joined today by Erin Franey, who is the program coordinator for EatFresh.org in Northern California. You all can feel free to contact either one of us for information and resources. We'll have our contact information on our very last slide. We also have a recording from our guest Molly Burke from our first webinar, who is the Nutrition Education Program Manager at the San Francisco Marin Food Bank. We'll be sharing her best practices and effective strategies that the food bank has used to integrate EatFresh.org through the video recording, since she was unable to be on the call with us this morning. Now, this is our first webinar topic, and we are planning several more webinars in the months ahead. We're doing these webinars because we've had so much interest in EatFresh.org, and we want to expand EatFresh's reach around the state by providing targeted trainings to different types of interested agencies and staff. We will be following up with everyone individually after this webinar to identify your specific needs and the best ways to integrate EatFresh into your program. So keep that in mind as we go through the webinar. For those of you who are new to EatFresh.org, I'll give a brief intro to the website. EatFresh.org was created specifically for the CalFresh population by San Francisco Human Services Agency and Leah's Pantry. After about a year of development, it was launched on September 30th, 2013. It has USDA approved content and has been categorized as a policy, systems, and environment intervention, which means it will add another layer of depth to direct and indirect education without duplication. EatFresh is available in English, Spanish, and Chinese. It features hundreds of recipes that have been shared by our many partners, such as the Nutrition Education and Obesity Prevention Branch, which was formerly known as Network for a Healthy California, and Cooking Matters. Recipes have been the most popular section of EatFresh, but we also have a wide variety of messaging pages on healthy living and chronic disease prevention, food discovery pages, Ask a Dietitian online, and local county resources. For those of you who need more of an intro to the site, I recommend you watch our demo video on our online toolkit, which is linked in the chat. So that's leahspantrysf.org/eatfresh-toolkit. To date, we've had almost, we're getting close to 90,000 visits onto the site, with 38% of those visits coming from a mobile device. So that's either a smartphone or a tablet. The majority of our users are brand new to the site and are using the recipes and discover food sections the most. In October 2014, we wrapped up an 11-month impact evaluation that showed 56% of our users who are currently enrolled or have been in the past in CalFresh. So we know that our target population is finding our website. 40% of our users have made 2 or more recipes from the site, and the most impactful number for us was that 71% of EatFresh users who are enrolled in CalFresh have never attended an in-person nutrition class. This suggests to us that EatFresh is reaching a significant portion of the population that would not be receiving nutrition education otherwise. Now I'm going to pass it over to Erin. I'm going to enter into a screen share, and she will talk about features that are most useful for nutrition educators. So give me a moment, just bring up my browser.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being on the webinar today. So there are many ways nutrition educators have been integrating EatFresh into their programming. And Molly, through this recording of the last webinar, will be speaking soon about how the San Francisco Marin Food Bank uses EatFresh to enhance their work. And I wanted to suggest a few basic ways to get the conversation started. First, the recipes section of the site provides several helpful tools. If you are looking for new recipe ideas, there is an advanced search option that allows you to limit your search based on a number of different indicators, such as vegetarian, salad, or main dish. When you click on advanced search, which Jessica just did to the right of the search bar on the recipes page, you will reveal the list of filters. You can select multiple filters and search for keywords with filters selected to get very specific results. So Jessica is demonstrating that now. And then you can click Clear All to reset the search results. On individual recipe pages, you can use the toolbar to print out recipes for your classes. So Jessica's hovering over that toolbar there on the right. The print feature is currently in beta, so you may need to tell your printer to only print the first page to avoid paper waste.
I just want to chime in here real quick. I'm not sure what's happening with this toolbar at the moment. It should be displaying horizontally. I think there's, okay, so I stopped loading the page. Anyway, there we go. Sorry. Don't know what that was about. That's the first time I saw that. Continue, Erin.
Live, and every once in a while, there's something odd that happens, so be aware. We are going to do a few polls during this webinar to just check in with everyone listening and see your thoughts about different features of the site. So Jessica, if you want to pull up the first poll. This one reads, would you or your participants use the print recipe feature if we fixed formatting? So if you can take a moment to answer that. Thanks, everyone. And as we do these polls, if you have additional comments, please type them into the chat box. We'll also have time at the end for Q&A. Going back to the site and the recipes pages, you can also save recipes to My Recipes, which is in the upper right, and collect them to come back to your list later. Another feature I wanted to mention here that I have found useful in my own work is hovering over ingredients on a recipe to show suggested substitutions. I find that people appreciate how EatFresh takes a recipe and makes it flexible, recognizing that they may not have the exact ingredients, but can easily swap based on their dietary preferences, what they have on hand, or what their budget allows. You can also click on an ingredient from a recipe and go to its Discover Foods page, where as a group, if you're in a nutrition class, you can find helpful information about the food, like how to store it and how to buy it right. That is a great reference for participants unfamiliar with certain foods you are preparing in your programs. Another useful feature for nutrition educators is Ask a Dietitian. Once your clients return home and begin to take steps towards healthier behaviors, They may have questions that come to mind or challenges that they face. Direct your clients to Ask a Dietitian, where they can submit any nutrition-related question outside of class time, and a SNAP-Ed trained dietitian will respond to them within a couple of days. This feature can be found now on any page on EatFresh. So on the home page, the community page, healthy lifestyle pages, generally it will be coming up in the right-hand column. So look for that on the site. And now we're going to put up another poll about this feature. How likely are you to introduce Ask a Dietitian to your client? Thank you. So we are constantly working to improve eatfresh.org by adding new features and general improvements. And we really want to make it the best resource that it can be for SNAP eligible Californians and for you as agency partners that work with this population. So please get in touch when you have ideas, feedback, or comments, because we really want this to be a shared resource and something that everyone feels like they can be contributing to and making suggestions about. So in that vein, during the first week of January, we added commenting on recipes. Comments can be found at the very bottom of each recipe page. We are hopeful this will be a forum for users to share ideas, promote their recipes, and build community. Jessica is making a great comment right now on one. To add a comment, you must either create a Discus account or log in via Facebook or another social network. You will be prompted to log in when you first try to comment on a recipe. In general, as we developed EatFresh, we decided not to ask users to create profiles or to log in to use the site. But in order to comment on recipes, users do need to log in. Once you have a profile, you can comment as often as you want, and we hope this will not be a hurdle for nutrition educators or users. So since we just launched this feature, we don't have many comments on recipes. Please encourage your clients to comment on them, either with their own accounts or through yours. Finally, we often get the question of whether EatFresh.org is an app too. It's not, but the website was built to be mobile friendly. This means that you can load it on your smartphone or tablet browser simply by typing in eatfresh.org. The website recognizes that you're on a mobile device and will adjust accordingly. In order to access eatfresh.org as quickly and as easily as you would an app, you can add it as a shortcut to the home screen on your smartphone. We have step-by-step guides that show you how to do this on both iPhone and Android phones that can be downloaded from our online toolkit and printed to share. And that toolkit, again, is in the chat screen. This is an easy tip that you can walk through with your clients at the beginning of class or before an eatfresh.org demo. And we'll also send a link to this file after the webinar in case you have any trouble finding it on our toolkit.
And I also just want to add that it's in the shared files window that you can download right now in the webinar if you would like.
Oh, great. Thanks, Jessica. So we are going to do one more poll. Would you take time during class to introduce eatfresh.org on mobile? This might include pulling up the recipe on the website, finding a recipe together, or creating an eatfresh.org shortcut on their mobile device. So please answer that. Thanks, everyone. So now we're going to play the recording of Molly Burke from the SF Marin Food Bank. She was unable to participate today, but was part of our last webinar. And so we recorded the whole webinar and are going to play her section talking about EatFresh.org at the food bank.
Great. Thanks, Erin. Thanks, Jessica. And thanks to the entire Leah's Pantry team. We really find that at the SF Marin Food Bank, EatFresh.org has been just a fantastic tool for both our one-time cooking demonstrations as well as our mini-series classes. Go ahead and share that we both use EatFresh.org for our classes kind of on a personal educator perspective, and then we also promote it directly to our clients during classes. But I'll begin just by sharing some specific sections that I find most helpful in my work. And the first is just, it's going to kind of reference back to what Erin as well as Jessica have mentioned in terms of some of the easy aspects of EatFresh.org. The first being that the recipes featured on EatFresh.org are really accessible for folks with varying levels of cooking comfort. We want to really promote just culinary competency within our classes, and EatFresh.org is a really simple tool for folks to either get in the kitchen for the first time or reinvigorate their passion for cooking. A lot of our clients do have a background in food preparation, and we really want them to, find that again if they've lost it, or get to continue with it if they do enjoy cooking within their own cooking facilities. And some of our clients are not super familiar with cooking. So what I love about EatFresh.org is that there are a lot of easy prep and very quick meals to be able to demo either for our single session demonstrations or our multi-session classes. Another huge benefit of EatFresh.org is, as Erin alluded to, there are a ton of ingredient substitutions. Many of our clients are on a very limited income, and many rely almost exclusively on food bank product. So for example, if we are able to distribute spinach one week and not kale, I can still promote a recipe that utilizes kale and substitute that spinach in there. And it's just so fantastic to have different vegetables that folks can use, different fruit items, different whole grain products that are featured throughout EatFresh recipes. And of course, selfishly, we love at the food bank that a lot of the food, the main ingredients within a lot of the recipes are food products distributed by the food bank. So it just makes our job really, really easy. The nutrition information at the bottom of our of each recipe tends to be really helpful for our clients, especially those who are looking to limit their salt intake or their sugar intake. It helps make my job easier because I'm not doing any sort of nutrition number crunching. Instead, that information is right there per serving, and I can show folks how to use that information as they're building their own healthy diets. And one other piece that's not mentioned here on the slide within the Finding Recipes section and just within the homepage is the language capacity. I know Jessica alluded to it at the beginning of the presentation, but what's fantastic for us at the SF Marin Food Bank is regularly in classes we have folks who are speaking English, Spanish, and Chinese. So it makes my job super easy to go to that top right-hand corner in the homepage and just change the language for the site so I can either show my client directly or I can print out recipes in their native language. The Discover Food section is also a hugely helpful section for us. It really takes the guessing out of how to select and prepare food products, and this really aligns with our aims at the food bank to encourage clients to cook their own meals more and rely less on packaged foods and restaurant meals. And I would also say that the why it's great section really helps me in my role and my staff locate talking points that we can use during a cooking demonstration to help demonstrate why certain foods are really, really good for our bodies and our overall health. Great. So moving forward, we don't just use it for our own recipe collection and our own classes. We definitely want to promote it directly to our clients throughout our classes. So to that end, we'll be sure to reference it throughout a class series. We normally meet with clients between 3 and 4 times, and each meeting, I am very careful to point out that the recipe we're using is coming from EatFresh.org. I will bring out my smartphone and show them the mobile version, that it is mobile compatible. And I also have been really lucky to have access to recipe cards. These are great for folks who might have limited access to a smartphone or a computer. These recipe cards are super easy to read. Again, they're coming in those 3 different languages, so a lot of clients can access those. And even if we're not preparing the recipe within the recipe card, it's a great takeaway for our classes. So we use that really, really regularly. And the best part is many of our clients report replicating the recipes we're making at home, which is of course the goal of our program. So we are huge fans of EatFresh.org, and we'll definitely continue to utilize it and promote it throughout our classes.
Great. So now we're going to continue. We at Leah's Pantry have really found that EatFresh integration is strongest when agency staff understand the site and use it in their nutrition education or other programming. Both, as Molly mentioned, the cooking and recipe aspects of the site, and then also the more nutrition and healthy lifestyle messaging. Hopefully, this webinar has sparked your imaginations for how you could use it at your agency. If you live in the Bay Area or in San Diego County, Jessica or I can do in-person trainings for your staff and provide follow-up support. And for those of you who might be in other parts of the state, we can certainly discuss online training and support options. So, building on the examples that have already been shared, here are some more ways to integrate EatFresh. So one, at a very basic level, is distributing recipe cards to clients. And that can be both during classes, and then if there is some sort of food bank distribution that's happening at or during your cooking demonstrations or nutrition classes, then within those bags is another great place to do that. I did want to mention here, we are going to be talking more about accessing print materials momentarily, but we do have recipe cards that either you can print yourselves or that we can print and give to you for free. So another one is using those Discover Foods pages like Molly mentioned to find information both for food pantry distributions or just within your classes as you are cooking with different foods and want to be able to highlight the resources and information on that page. And then I think for me, for folks that do multi-series classes and workshops, being able to refer participants to eatfresh.org as a tool that they can be using throughout this series, and especially I think as a class or a demonstration is ending, to be able to refer and promote EatFresh as a next step for folks who a week or a month or a year from your programming might be interested in seeking more information or remembering that great recipe that they had in your class or that health tip that they felt like was relevant in their own lives, to be able to go to this website and find really similar USDA approved information, I think is a great way to use the site. And then lastly, just wanted to mention again that any page on EatFresh is available in English, Spanish, and Chinese, and it's very simple to switch between languages which can be very helpful in classes that have people who speak multiple languages in them. This past summer, we ran a pilot in San Diego with Spanish-speaking adults in a library computer lab. This example is a little more involved, but demonstrates the depth of resources that EatFresh.org can provide in a setting with internet access, which might also include your agency. So EatFresh.org was the main resource for teaching the class, and the lessons focused on My Plate, meal planning, and feeding kids. The facilitator led the group through the lesson and used EatFresh.org as an interactive component to search for recipes that use whole grains or beans, and emailed it to themselves or bookmarked it on their phones for reference at a later time. EatFresh.org was also used to learn about unfamiliar foods, just like we mentioned before, as they learned to eat a rainbow of fruits and vegetables, and to find ways to help overcome barriers to feeding their children. As a result of the class, we found some participants staying after to continue to explore the site or checking out laptops and tablets to be able to continue to use the site on their own. In 2015, we are looking to expand our EatFresh classes in a computer lab setting, especially in San Francisco. And I will be doing some of the facilitation myself, but I'm also very happy to share resources and train agency staff at your site or volunteers to facilitate this curriculum. And in other counties, we can talk about doing that as well. So we are going to share another poll, just checking in about, would you be interested in learning more about EatFresh.org in a computer lab to use with your clients? So please answer that now, and we'll continue.
Okay, thank you, Erin. So distributing print materials is a good starting point for promoting EatFresh.org. While the main goal of EatFresh.org is to take advantage of the functionality and the level of interactivity that websites can offer, we know that it's not always realistic to have an internet connection everywhere you're teaching classes or everywhere your clients go. The most useful print materials for nutrition educators are EatFresh recipe cards, messaging cards, and our step-by-step user guides. You can find a variety of these materials on our online toolkit, which again is in the chat box. You can just click that link and print them as you need to. We are constantly updating them, so be sure to check back often. You can also request recipe cards from myself or Erin, as she mentioned, and we will ship them to you at no cost. Our 4x6 recipe and messaging cards are perfect takeaways that will help remind clients to visit the website when they do have access to the internet. The user guides are great for anyone who has internet access during a class or a workshop and wants to explore the website, or to hand out to clients so they can log on to EatFresh.org outside of class time. We found these particularly helpful during our computer lab classes. It allows participants to not only have that guide as an extra support as they are sometimes just learning how to use a computer for a first time, but it also cuts down on a lot of the questions asked in class related to the technology itself. So now that we've introduced a lot of different strategies that you could potentially use, I'm going to post another poll. Please take a moment to answer it based on what we've covered today. So how are you most likely to use EatFresh.org with your clients? I know that all of these might apply, but just choose the one that you think is the most realistic or the most enticing for you. All right, thank you. So before we move on to Q&A, I want to talk a little bit about our online curriculum modules that we're currently developing. We're in the process of 5-minute online modules that would guide EatFresh.org users through specific nutrition and physical activity topics. These modules would cover basic concepts and would include interactive aspects like drag and drop sorting that you see here on the screen. These modules will be our online attempt at more direct education rather than sort of leaving the site open to exploring at their leisure and maybe not accessing all of the features or the material on the site. While we're in this planning phase, we're seeking providers who would be interested in testing the modules and giving us feedback. As I said, each module is 5 minutes long. Overall, we hope to develop 15 modules, but we'd like to have people test 1 to 2 modules at a time. So if you're interested in participating in testing, please mark yes on the poll that I am going to put up right now. So would you like to help us test our online curriculum modules?
Thanks, everyone. And now we have some time for questions and answers. So if you have a question, please type it into the chat box and we can respond. And I also wanted to say that we are developing other webinars. So this is the second time that we've done the EatFresh.org for Nutrition Educators webinar, but are looking into other topics. So if you have ideas for other kinds of webinars or trainings that you think would be useful for you and your staff, please let us know.
Another thing to think about if you don't have a question, we are interested in hearing what topics you would be interested in having addressed in future EatFresh webinars. So for example, we have thought about doing a webinar specifically for CalFresh eligibility workers. So if there's maybe a certain group or a specific topic that you want to know how EatFresh could be integrated, then please let us know. Okay, so Fern, I see you have your hand raised, and I'm trying to see how I can give you. Oh, food banks. Okay. Thank you for typing it in the chat box. I'm not sure how to give you permission to use your mic, which is, whoops.
That is a good idea and something that we've been talking a lot about as a team is doing more outreach to food banks around the state of California and figuring out different both materials and strategies for integrating EatFresh. So that is certainly something that we have in mind.
Oh, here, I figured it out. So Fern, I'll give you microphone access if you have any other comments or questions. Nope, okay. Does anyone else have questions or comments?
Great. Well, thank you so much for participating. And Jessica and I will both be following up with everyone individually. And so if you are looking for more resources, especially some of those print materials that Jessica spoke about, then I can help get those to you soon. And we really appreciate, your participation today. This webinar is being recorded and will also be available online. So if you have a colleague who didn't get a chance to attend, but who you think might be interested in hearing and learning more, then you can send it along to them. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks everyone.